more thoroughly have the information for the group, and then present it to the membership. Great. Thank you, Kathy. Yep. Now we're really going to open it up for questions, and Kay is going to lead us through that. I know we have a number of new members on, so feel free to ask your questions, anything at all. We also, fortunately, in addition to the Four Faces members, have a number of members who participated last year, who were on focus area committees as well. So I'm asking them too to chime in there and give, any thoughts you have to add. And I forgot to introduce myself. I'm sorry. I was a little wearing two hats here. My name is Kim Fierst, and I'm the focus area director. I was last year and ran the FAC process, and I'll be doing the same this year. So with that, Kay, if you want to kick off the questions.
Sure. Thank you very much. And Kim was a wonderful leader, and we are so glad that she's still with us doing this process. What I wanted to start out with was to kind of go over a little bit about what you can find out on the impact100srq.org website. Okay, so if you go on to the website and you go under members, you'll have the focus area committee information. But I wanted to tell you a little bit more about that. On there, it's listed what days and what times and which focus area group will be meeting at that time. For instance, on Mondays at 11 a.m. to 12:30 will be the education committee. And then Tuesdays from 8 to 9:30 for your early risers and coffee people will be the environment and recreation.
Wait, Kate, those are last year's.
Oh.
Those are last.
Oh, wait, I got it. Arts and culture. When I ran it off, it blacked it out. I'm sorry. I'm backing up the bus. Arts and culture is going to be Mondays from 11 to 12:30. I apologize profusely. Education will be Tuesdays from 8 to 9:30. Environment and recreation will be Wednesday from 6 to 7:30
p.m.
p.m. Yes, yeah. Not a.m. p.m. Family will be Thursdays from 6:45 to 8:15, and health and wellness will be Fridays from 9 to 10:30. That is all written down on the website, so don't worry about writing down what I just said, because if you go to impact100srq.org, not your wild apricot, but the .org, you will see that all listed under FACs. Now, you will notice that the location of those meetings is not listed because it's still too early in the process for us to secure exactly where we'll be meeting. But generally speaking, they're going to be somewhere from kind of University Parkway down to Sarasota. Generally not extreme locations. But we'd like for you guys to go ahead and look at those times and dates in which focus area group you might be interested in, and go ahead and sign up for it. You can sign up right in that same area. You can tell us what focus area group, your first and second choice that you would like to have. You can go ahead and sign up, and then we'll talk to you more about that as your FACES team, okay?
Okay, man. So, can I ask a question? Okay.
Sure, go ahead.
This year, obviously, everything was virtual because of COVID. It sounds like you're leaning towards we're going to have in-person meetings.
We're not certain yet, but we'd like to.
Yes. Okay. If we do, will we be able to keep a virtual component to it for those the snowbirds? Because as we said, one of the silver linings this year was that people that ordinarily didn't participate were able to.
Yeah, just to answer that, Gail, there's one thing we're certain of, that there will be a virtual for anybody locally who wants to participate that way, and certainly for our members who are not here during those months.
Great.
Not a problem whatsoever.
I have another question too, really quickly. On the website, where do you go to see that information? Like, I've got it open right now so that everyone who's new could see. Where do they go to find that?
It's under members.
Okay, under membership.
Then there's a spot to go to focus area committees.
I see membership and then become a member.
And then down below,
Are you on are you on the 100srq.org? Or are you on Wild Apricot?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it auto-populated. Okay.
Right. So you need to be on the
That's good, okay.
srq100.org. It comes up with a picture of our fill the truck event.
Got it. Yeah, totally. Okay, so that's,
Okay.
make sure that you go on, okay, good, because they just
Right. And then up
auto-populate.
the heading
Okay,
there, you'll have members and you go down, there's focus area groups.
perfect, thank you.
There it is.
what
Anybody
question-
have any questions about what we've talked about so far? No?
No?
Oh, really?
Explain a little bit more about what the FACES role will be. All of you new members have an ambassador who you're assigned to. And if you have any, questions about the FACs, they will pass those questions along and they will notify one of the 4 FACES team members, and the FACES team will call you and contact you and answer any question that you have. They're, anything at all, they're very equipped. They were all great, FAC members last year. So the point of that is that you shouldn't have any question unanswered, and that we want to encourage as many of you as are interested to participate in an FAC. It is what we do. It's about reviewing the applications that we receive from the local nonprofits. It's about assessing those applications, and ultimately every FAC chooses a finalist that they present to the membership for the overall vote. But, I may want to call on a few of you old timers to just share a little bit of, your thoughts. Ellen, do you want to share,
Well, I was
you've
just
been a couple
actually,
year person.
yes, I'm Ellen Foster. I was the first year on the just finance committee and last year on both finance and FAC, which have now been rolled into one committee. So I just wanted to mention, if there are people on this call who are especially interested in reviewing financial statements, that is also now part of this committee and very much appreciated. I'm a little curious to wonder if there's what the people who are on the call are hoping to get out of this kind of an experience. What would you imagine it would be or hope it would be to find it rewarding?
Any thoughts?
I can speak on behalf of that question.
yeah.
I'm new to Impact 100 as of November, and I've dived right in with the communications work group, and that's been fantastic. But I want a more well-rounded experience. So certainly I have a lot of interest in learning about the nonprofits in the area and their needs and how we can help them.
Yeah, it makes it a lot more. I've found that when I read the paper now, or I read the Observer or whatever, it means a lot more now because I'm seeing activity of organizations that I've actually now gotten to know a good amount about. And that makes it, you just feel like you're more a member of the community, I think. I hope you all would agree.
Absolutely, I agree. And especially from my experience, I'm Eva Trefford, I'm part of FACES. And I joined Impact last year and became a member of the FAC. I also joined in for the site visits, and I found those particularly interesting when you get to meet the people who run the nonprofits and you see the passion they have for their project and what the community is all about. It was a fantastic experience all around.
May I ask a question, please? I wanted to ask, I'm just reading here on the website, it's saying that if you have any conflict of interest, if you wanted to join a particular one, like I would only be interested in the health and wellness one. Say, for instance, I volunteer for Meals on Wheels. Does that constitute a conflict of interest?
We do. Every member will sign the conflict of interest policy and disclose the nonprofits with whom they have what we call a significant relationship.
Right.
How we define that relationship is, let's say if you were a board member, a family
Right.
member,
Oh,
a
okay.
board member, volunteering are over 100 hours a year or contributing in excess of $1,000. Now, so you disclose that information, but at this point, you don't know whether any of the organizations where you have that kind of relationship is going to apply or not. So once the applications come in, one of the roles I have is to review the information that the FAC members have disclosed. And if you are on a certain committee and you have what's viewed to be a significant relationship with one of the applicants in that committee, then I will have a conversation with you just to talk, just to really ask you, do you feel you can be fair, objective, and unbiased in reviewing the applications? After some of those conversations, some members say, I'm not sure I can be because I have such strong loyalties to that nonprofit. And if that's the case, we hope to work to move them into another committee. But in many cases, a member says, yes, but, I really believe I can be, fair and objective. And after a discussion, we can determine that the member stays there in the committee, but we do disclose that relationship to the entire committee. So there's full transparency and all the members are aware, but we manage that very carefully, as you would imagine. It's very important to how the nonprofit, our community looks at us, to know that we really are managing those conflict of interest, and we look at every applicant and want to make sure we're applying a level playing field to all. Is that answering your question, Carrie?
Yes, it is. It is helpful. But and my second question is, well, what happens, as I say, if I would only be interested in, to be honest, that would be my main interest. And I didn't think I tried to fill in the form now, and you can't not have a second choice if you
Well,
say
is your interest there because of the time that meeting occurs and you have conflict?
a lot of it, yes.
Okay, well,
Yes.
that is hard to manage, but if it's because of your interests, then I will tell you.
I'm just lucky that it happens to be on a Friday. That worked great. Thank you.
If it's because of your interests, I will tell you that the nonprofits choose which committee they want their application to be reviewed by. And many of this, you may have an organization and the same application, and one is going to choose, let's say, family, and another will choose health and wellness, and another will choose education, because there's a lot of overlap, as you would imagine, in those areas. So if you're driven to health and wellness because of your interests, I would say, you're going to find similar organizations and similar initiatives if you were to be in family and possibly even education.
Okay. Thank you.
What other questions?
For instance, Mayor's Feed the Hungry, was health and wellness. They weren't family. And you think because of food that they might have been in family because they had such a broad application of what the food that they give away. But they were in health and wellness, and they select what group, and you'll be surprised at some of the things that they do, because it depends on what they're trying to do with the money. They'll put it into that FAC. They'll make the grant in that particular group based on what they're trying to do with the money. I was on education committee the first year, and some of those were really health and wellness or really family. They really, that group crossed over many different areas.
Right.
So,
okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Nancy.
Well, the first year as a founding member, I was on the finance committee. And then last year I was unable to be actively participating. So there's changes. And I see that this committee is doing, I guess, the finance review and the site visits. Is the finance portion of it to make sure they're viable, or if they are spending more money than our grant, that they have another grant that can cover it? Is that not as you know, I won't say important, but not as high a priority as it, you know, as the site visits and so on now. I'm just trying to understand the change.
Nancy, it took me a while to figure this out myself, but I talked to Kim about this, and I think it really makes a lot of sense. Is it less important, the finance? Absolutely not less important. They still must be financially viable, and the budget for the program, their ability to gather the additional money they might need in addition to ours, all of that is still very important. The switch is happening because we found ourselves doing extensive financial reviews of organizations that did not then be selected for site visits. And so we were spending a lot of hours reviewing organizations that weren't going to move on anyway. This way, we're not going to start the financial review until after we've selected which organizations will be site visited, and we can focus our effort on financially evaluating those organizations only. I think it sounds like the way it's been described to me to be just simply a more efficient way of using our resources.
I can see that. So instead of 80 or 100 that we're sitting there reviewing, you know, 2 years of financial statements or tax returns, it's only going to be like maybe 10 or 20.
Right, and then we can directly communicate with the rest of the focus area committee what our findings are. So there's a more direct link. In the past, some of us maybe were on focus area, others were not. So we hope not to lose that continuity of knowledge within the committee.
Okay, that sounds great. Sounds like a good improvement.
Yeah. Ellen did a great job explaining that. And a couple points I want to just add to that. One is, you know, this is going to be our third year as an organization, the third year doing this. Every year we plan to improve our process and get better and better. And so this is a step we're taking for next year, that for all the reasons that Ellen described. For the rest of you, the finance review part is a key part of our review. And the members on the FACs that will do that will be those that have a financial background. So if any of you are interested and have that background, it won't be every member, but there'll be certain designated members that do that. And the real benefit also, which Ellen shared, is it's going to bring that knowledge of the findings that they have to the committee. And they'll hear it from them directly. They'll be able to ask questions. It's always sort of been done in the background before. So I think there's going to be everybody's knowledge level is going to rise by bringing it into the process. But that's a great question, Nancy. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
What criteria then is used to determine which nonprofits get a site visit?
Anybody, FACES team want to, Kathy?
A lot of that came to light when we went through the initial review process on Submittable. The grant applications go on this online platform. We read through the application that has a little bit about the organization's mission and history, and then how the proposed initiative fits with that. What needs are they meeting in the community? And they spell out, you know, their timeline, their budget for the initiative. And as we go through that, we're answering those questions about, is it viable? Is it sustainable? What's the impact? Are we being good stewards? And we run the scores. And when we meet back as a committee, all of our collective scores kind of give us the initial place to start the conversation of ranking our applicants and deciding. And we start, I guess, at the bottom. Was that right, Kim? We start at the lowest scoring ones and discuss, well, you know, why did we score it the way we did? What are the merits of the initiative? And then we vote as a committee whether that organization deserves a site visit. And then we move up from there and, you know, select there's not a set number of nonprofits that get a site visit. It's just looking at the initiatives and how well they meet the criteria, and the ones that meet the criteria well are the ones that get site visits.
Great, good answer, Kathy.
Submittable will lead you through that. Submittable asks you to answer the questions and score them in keeping with the 5 key questions of the organization. So they keep you focused on what we want to do as Impact 100, and then the score drops out of that.
Which I think is really important. I said this a little earlier, you know, you're reading about these organizations and they all have great missions and have done good for the community already. So I think having those 5 key questions as criteria really helps with the focus on the particular initiative, which, you know, is really what's going to make the impact.
Right.
I'm all big about the site visits because I'm not a financial person, I'm a nurse. And let me tell you, the site visits changed my life. I've now been on 6 site visits, I think, or 5 site visits, and they're just wonderful. And I was on the Mayor's Feed the Hungry site visit, and then they were one of our winners, and I was there when we filled the truck, you know, last month. And I mean, these site visits are wonderful, whether they're virtual or in person. They're just wonderful, and you want everybody to win, and it's just I can't tell you the feeling that you get. So I would encourage all the people on this screen tonight to be a part of a site visit, whether it's virtual or in person. It is just life-changing. I'm telling you, it's wonderful.
Typically,
Yeah, I
how
would have
many?
to because I agree. I'm not a financial person either. That was where I struggled looking over the financial statements. So the site visits were definitely a lot more fun for me. And it answers a lot of questions that arise from looking over the application. So you get into knowing the organization on a whole different level, and you know, just get a overall feel for it once meeting the people and get to talk to them about the details.
Typically, how many people are on each committee?
Varies between the different times of the day and the number of applications, but on the site visits, there's usually 3 to 5 people virtually versus even in person. So
But on each of the FACs.
oh, on each of the FACs, I'm sorry. I think it varied, right, Kim? I mean, basically,
Yep, it varies. We really, you know, with the exception of the conflict of interest, what we talked about before, we want to make sure that members are able to have their first choice, which is what we did last year. So the last year, as an example, we had the smallest committee was about 20, and the largest was close to 50.
Wow.
Now, and I'll tell you what, they were pretty, you know, we went virtual last year, which was new for all of us. And we sort of figured it out as we went. But I'll tell you what, this group of members and the FAC members last year were just so engaged in the process. And it really, you know, it was fun just to see so many of our members engaged and being able to, you know, be part of the process to select our 5 finalists was great.
All learned Zoom together and we all met each other and it was great.
Kim, what is the reason behind having 2 options, like giving a second choice?
Well, a lot of that is because of the conflict of interest, so that at least you're thinking if one doesn't work, you know, then maybe the other one will. Some, and we have, I guess, 5 minutes, so just a warning there. Some some members, maybe like Carrie, really just want one, and that may be driven by their schedule or interest, whatever, and that's fine. That's fine. But if you're, you know, between 2, where either would work just fine for you, it would be helpful to know that. Another reason, possibly, which we've not done, but another reason is, let's say that one committee last year had gotten into the 60s or whatever, it may have made sense, you know, to go back and look at how many chose as their second choice, the one that only has 20. And maybe it would be a better experience for all if we leveled this out a little bit, so we didn't have so many on one and so few on the other. We've never done that, But, you know, if somebody is really between one or, you know, their first and second choice, it may be more valuable experience for them if they're participating with a smaller group. I mean, Eva, for one, was in the smallest group that I mentioned, and Ellen was in a small group. Kay and Kathy were both in larger groups, just to give you, you know, an example. So that's why we asked for 2.
But if a small group of people has a lot of grants, then you're going to be making a lot of site visits. You know what I mean? So it's better if it's a little more balanced. Any last questions, guys? Because we're going to have to go back into the big room.
Yeah, I've got one question. I know I've been a member last year, and I know that we gave out 3 grants, and we have the 5 different focus groups. Is there a reason we don't give one to each of the focus groups? I realize it would be less money, but any reason why we don't award in each group?
I'll cover that.
Go ahead, Kim.
Our model is that our grant is a minimum of 100,000 so that we can make the impact that obviously it does. And so that, you know, to reduce the amount obviously lessens the impact. Our goal, though, to deal with that is to grow our membership so that we are able to give a grant in all 5 of the focus area committees. So we've shown, you know, significant growth from year 1 to year 2 in our membership, and we hope we keep that going so that we get to funding all 5. Pensacola, as an example, which is a impact chapter that we have close ties to, they fund 10 grants. They have over 1,000 members. So, and that's, you know, I don't know about you all, but I don't consider Pensacola all that big an area. So that's certainly something that we can strive for so that we're being able to fund more.
We want to thank you all for joining our breakout group, and we look forward to talking to each one of you about any questions that you have. And please don't hesitate to give us a call. We're all on the membership directory on the SRQ website, and we're happy to talk to any of you or talk to your ambassadors.
Yeah,
we're all here for you.
Just let your ambassador know you'd like to talk to somebody, and one of the 4 Faces team will get in touch with you.
If you don't have an ambassador now because you joined last year, then we're still here for you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys.
Okay, well, you can leave the room down below if you see that blue box.
Leave room, yeah.